And good morning, everyone. Oh, good morning, the two of you that said good morning. I'm so glad you said that. Wait, this is the 11 o'clock service, so you all should be awake. Good morning. Good morning. That's better. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to 678. We're so glad that you're here. Today we're going to be going through Genesis chapter 29 and 30. So hopefully you all have a Bible. You can turn to Genesis chapter 29. Like Dennis said, my name's Owen. I used to be the youth pastor here. Long time ago, like you said, when your parents were kids, so that means I'm 74 years old. And if you believe that, so I've got some swampland for you to buy from me later. No, I'm just teasing. But I used to be the youth pastor here, and now I'm privileged to be back here and helping you guys out. Hopefully you'll learn a few things today. You'll go home with a couple of nuggets of wisdom. Hopefully you have a little fun. We'll make you laugh. But really, most importantly, is that when you get home this afternoon, you'll have heard from the Lord what he has to say to you in Genesis chapter 29 and 30. So you should have already been reading through the Old Testament, and as you're being taught these things, you should be learning. Well, let's see what you have learned. Does anybody remember the last thing you learned about? Who was the guy? Who was the main character that you learned about last? Anybody? Anybody? Yes. Jacob. Very good. Jacob. And he was running away from his brother Esau. Very good, right? Because why? He stole his birthrights. Okay, very good. And he also did something to his father. Starts with a D. Ends with deceived. Deceived. Very good. He deceived his father. And yes, you have a question? Comment?
That explains why his name means.
Yes, the deceiver, exactly. So Jacob, he deceived his father. He wanted his brother's birthright. He wanted more in life. He wanted to get what he wanted, and he was willing to do anything to get it. And then after he got it, he got in a lot of trouble. And so he has to leave his family, his friends, and now where is he? He's doing what? He's running away, and he finds himself where? In the desert. And he has his head on a rock, and what? He has a dream. Very good. Does anybody remember what the dream was? Angels are going up and coming down, and when he wakes up, does anybody remember what he says? God is here in this place, and he didn't even know it. So on the screen, we're going to go over a couple of things today. The first thing is we're going to talk about getting what you want. How to get what you want. Does anybody here want to get something? No, none of you want to get anything. Yes. You want something, and you'll do whatever it takes to get that something. We're also going to talk about getting what you deserve. How many of you have ever gotten what you deserved? How about not got what you deserve? How about you should have got caught doing that thing, and you didn't get caught, so you didn't get what you deserved? Anybody? Oh, don't raise your hand because we're being taped live here, and we don't want your parents to see that. But we're also going to talk about what? Getting what God grants. Now look on the screen. The next slide is very, very important for our discussion today, for our topic today. It says, there it is, ready, drum roll please. Ding. The choices that we make today will either help us or hurt us later in life. Okay, so the choices that you make today are going to either help you or hurt you later. But before we go any farther, I got a quick video that I want you to see. It's an old video. It's a Disney flick. It's called Freaky Friday. It's not with Lindsay Lohan. It's older than that. It's from before you were ever even born. But I want you to watch it, and I want you to think about this. Before we show the video, listen, I want you to think about this. If you could change places with somebody else, would you? Would you? If you could change places with somebody else, what's your name? Oh, if you could change places with someone else, anybody, would you? No, okay. You, young man in the green shirt. If you could, yes, you. If you could change places with anybody else, would you? No. Wow. All right, we'll watch this video, and then we'll get back to our topic. Lights on. Now you want to watch the video. I know you guys. You're like, what happened? What happened? You can ask your parents later on to watch that video. It's a Disney flick. It's like 1976, the original Freaky Friday. But anyways, could you imagine changing places with somebody else? Could you imagine if you had the opportunity to actually have somebody else's life? And here's the reality. Every single one of us, at some point in life, that's what we want. We want what somebody else has. We want, well, hey, you got a PlayStation for Christmas? Somebody got an Xbox. And then somebody else got this, and somebody got that. And girls, hey, they got the coolest clothes or the coolest shoes or whatever it is that you girls like, because I don't know. I've only been married 20 years. I don't still understand it. But there you are. You want something that somebody else has. Or we look at famous people and basketball players or football players, and we think, man, that's what they got. I want that. Well, Jacob had the same problem. That's a problem that's been going on in the human heart for a long time. And you know what? You have that wrestle too. You want what others have. And so look, Jacob, I want to remind you, I think you already know this, right? Jacob was the grandson of who? His father was Isaac, but who was he the grandson of? Anybody remember? Abraham. The Bible says that he was the what? Father of faith. And we know, because you've been doing your studying through Genesis, listen, you know that Abraham at this point in his life is very wealthy. He has a lot of stuff. And like any good grandfather, he wants to take care of his grandkids. But Jacob wants more. He wants more. And so he'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants. But listen, unfortunately, he ends up getting what he deserves. Not what God grants him, but what he deserves. So, he's on his way, we've already said this, he's on his way to this place, Haran, where his grandfather, Abraham, is from. He's, almost there. He has the vision, the angels and all, but now he's continuing on the voyage, and we find ourselves in Genesis chapter 29. Look, so Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east, and he looked, and he saw a well in the field. And behold, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. Genesis chapter 29, right? That's where we are. Good. Genesis chapter 29. And Jacob said to them, my brethren, where are you from? And they said, we're from Haran. And then he said to them, do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. And they said, hey, he's well, because he asked if they're well. And look, his daughter Rachel is coming with the sheep. Now, listen. Interesting. Jacob's on his way to this place, Haran. He had never been there before. He didn't know what it was like. He didn't know what to expect. Is anybody here ever moved from out of state and you moved to the state of Florida? Anybody moved, you came here from another state? All right, well, where'd you come from? Yeah. Right there, yeah. Where'd you come from? You raised your hand, either one of you. I don't answer. Where did you come from? Another, right here in the gray. Yeah. New York? What part? Huh? Brooklyn? Anybody else from Brooklyn, New York? Nope, just you. I'm from New York too, so don't worry about it. Where'd you come from? Wisconsin. Now, do you remember moving here from New York? Oh, you don't remember that much? Okay, do you remember moving here? You a little bit? Okay, they did things really different in Wisconsin than they did here, right? And that's what happens when you go to new places, they do different things. And so Jacob's not used to what's going on. And he's like, hey, well, let me ask around. Hey, where are you guys from? And amazingly, they say what? Oh, yeah, we're from Haran. Jacob thinks, that's where I'm going. What a coincidence. Interesting. Have you ever had one of those experiences in life where you're somewhere and you meet somebody else from like maybe your hometown or something? I was at Dunkin' Donuts a couple weeks ago with my daughter Desiree, she's 15, and we got to Dunkin' Donuts, we got our stuff, we sat down, and this old-timer, "Hey, you're in my seat, move over." I'm thinking, I didn't know that this was your seat. I didn't know that you owned Dunkin'. I don't see your name on it anywhere. But I moved over to respect my elders. He sat down, and then his wife sat down, and he starts asking me, "How was your Christmas?" I said, "Oh, my Christmas was good." And he's a friendly guy. And we start to talk. He's in his 80s, and I asked him where he was from, and eventually we got to the point where, "I'm from New York." I said, "Oh, what part of New York?" "Well, I'm from Buffalo." I said, "Well, that's funny because my mom's from Buffalo." "Oh, yeah, I grew up on Kensington." And I said, "Well, that's funny because my mom grew up on that same street." Come to find out, this man had bought some materials from my grandfather who owned a neon lighting business, and he knew my grandfather really well, knew my family. How strange is that? But listen, I don't believe in coincidences. As a Christian, as a lover of Jesus, I don't believe in things, well, they just happen. I believe everything happens for a reason. And I'm going to come back to that story in a second about that guy that knew my grandfather. But listen, realize this. Jacob woke up from the dream, from the vision, and he said, "Hey, God is here," and I didn't even know it. God was with him, but Jacob wasn't with God. That's the next slide on the screen. God is with Jacob, but Jacob's not with God. Even when Jacob gets to this land, sees this well, and he finds these people from Haran, he even sees in the distance Rachel's coming. That's Laban, his uncle's daughter. He doesn't realize that God is in this whole thing. He's just thinking, "Wow, what a coincidence. Wow, let me see how I can work this out to make this better for me." Because all he's thinking about is what? Himself. And who do you think about a lot? Yourself. Come on. Right? You get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? You look in the mirror. "Ooh, I look so good." Oh. Or you're thinking, "Oh, man, I need to change that." Or, "Oh, man, I got gray." Well, you shouldn't be thinking you have gray hair because you're not the old age. But whatever it is, you look at yourself and then you think about yourself. And what am I going to feed myself for breakfast today? And what am I going to wear to school? And you think about yourself a lot. Jacob was thinking about himself. But understand this. You might be here today at church. You might be here every day at church. And you're around the things of God, but you're not with God. Listen. You might know the things of God. You might know how to pray. You might know some answers from the Bible study, but you're not with God. And look, right here, you're maybe on this path. This is the path that, well, I want to do whatever it takes to get what I want in life. I'm going to do whatever it takes to take care of me, numero uno. I'm going to do, whatever feels good. Or you might be over here on this path. This path over here, this is the path where, honestly, it's the path of God. It's where you know what, God? I'm going to trust you with whatever you bring into my life. Well, God, if you want this for me or that for me, I'm going to accept it. God, I want to follow you. I want to obey you. I want to do the things that you want me to do. Now, I don't always feel like that, but I'm asking for help so that so what path are you on? Because although Jacob was on a path, he was with, or God was with him, he wasn't really with God. And today, listen, next slide on the screen, this is what I hope that one of the major things I hope you learn is to stop, to think, and to wait. Please, listen to me. I hope that today you'll learn to stop, think, and wait. Because, like I said earlier, the choices you make today in life are either going to help you or hurt you later in life. And if all you're thinking about is getting what you want, you might end up getting what you deserve and not what God grants. So look with me as we continue our story here. Did anybody remember where we stopped off? You're not paying attention, neither am I. Okay, so verse 7. Then Jacob said to the guys there, "Look, it's still high day. It's not time for the cattle to be gathered together. Water the sheep, go and feed them." But they said, "No, we can't do that until all the flocks are gathered together, and they've rolled away the stone from the well's mouth. Then we'll water the sheep." What was Jacob doing? once again, he's trying to manipulate the thing and make it work out for him because he sees Rachel. Wow, this is Rachel. Hey, guys, hurry up, get out of here. And once again, he's trying to get what he wants. So there in verse 9, now while he was still speaking with the guys, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near. He rolled the stone from the well's mouth. He watered all the flock of Laban and his mother's brother. Then he kissed Rachel, lifted up his voice, and cried. Now, I don't know if that's normal, that when a guy kisses a girl, that he then cries, but he does. And then what happens? Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's relative and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. Now, I know that's true. A guy kisses a girl, and she runs away. I've had that happen in my... No, that's not true, but I remember when I first met Lynette, who is my wife now, but when I first met her, it was funny. I saw her at church. It was Calvary Chapel, but not when it was here. And I saw her and said, hey, I know you. Your name is... And she said, Lynette. I said, oh, yeah. And I turned around to say hi to a friend. I turned back around, and she was gone. I thought, that's kind of strange. But then a week later, I saw her at another event, and I said, hey, Lynette, how are you? Oh, she said, oh, hi, your name was... I said, Owen. And she said, oh, yeah. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around, gave the person a hug, came back around to see Lynette, gone again. Gone! Now, here's the thing. I just met her. It was only a week. But 4 weeks later, which is 5 weeks after I met her, I knew she was the one for me. And so I asked her to marry me. 5 weeks. I know I move slow. But I asked her to marry me. And you know what she said? I'll pray about it. I said, well, that's a good, godly thing to do. Pray about it. So she prayed about it, and God told her to wait. And so she said, well, God told me to wait. I said, okay, we'll wait. You know, I'll give her a little time. 2 years went by. 2 years. It took her 2 years to figure out she couldn't live without me. I could have told her that from the beginning. No. There's a point to the story here. Look at verse 13. It came to pass when Laban heard the report about Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. So he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him for a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, because you're my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older one was Leah, and the name of the younger one was Rachel. Leah, her eyes were delicate, but Rachel was beautiful of form and appearance. Now that's interesting to me. Why? Because you guys know that there's different translations of the Bible, but you know the Old Testament is written in Hebrew, and if you look at the Hebrew, the original, where it says that Leah's eyes were delicate, this is what it means. She was ugly. I know it's kind of sad to say, but, you know, she fell off the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down. But Rachel, she was a hottie. That's what it means there when it says that, you know, she was a beautiful form and appearance. Jacob, no, I'm just teasing, guys. Jacob loved Rachel. There was something about her. He was just like Cupid had, you know, pulled back the bow and struck him in the heart, and he was just, Rachel. Wherever she is, I'll do whatever she wants. He was all googly-eyed, drooling, and she smelled good, she looked good, and he would do anything for her. So verse 18, Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I'll serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. And Laban said, it's better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only a few days because of the love that he had for her. Ah, right, girls? That's romantic, right? Ah. Don't you girls want a guy who'll do anything and everything for you? You don't know that yet? Yes, that's what's going to happen as you get a little older, you start to date. Now, my daughters, I have 2. One's 15, turning 16, and I have another one that's 8. Turning 30. Those 2, they know that, you know, it's dating. You know, we've talked about dating. And dating in our house, it's not a big thing. My daughters, I said, you can date if you want. I told the 8-year-old, you can date if you want. No problem. Go ahead and date. But on your dates, I'm going to go. And whatever the boy wants to do to you, he's got to do to me first. So if he wants to kiss you, kiss me first. So I've had no problems. Nobody wants to date my daughters. But anyways, just teasing. Anyways, listen. Dating, you're going to learn about this at O2. Levi Leslie's going to do a great job teaching about it. But dating, honestly, I don't encourage it at all. I encourage, you know what, as a young person, enjoy being a young person. Man, don't make some of the same mistakes that so many other people have made when they were your age. Oh, I'm 13 years old and I'm in love. Oh, I love this person. And you get your heart broken after 3 days because they don't love you anymore. Because they found somebody else, or they found, like Dennis said, you burp after you eat pizza, or whatever it is. Listen, I know that every person that has an orange shirt in here and that's a leader, I can tell you the reason why they're here is they don't want you to make the same bad choices that they made, and they want to help you to make right choices. Because the choices that you make today will what? Either help you or hurt you later in life. And you see, when I was your age, I didn't have anybody that was in my life encouraging me, helping me to make right choices. And I'm ashamed. When I was 13, 14, all the way up to that age of 19, I made some terrible, terrible decisions in my life that still to this day affect me. Still to this day. So you need to be very careful about the choices that you make. All right? So here we go. Back to the story. Jacob works 7 years for her. He gets her. Or, it's time for her to get her. So verse 21, we see, Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife." He wants what he wants. He's going to get it. "For my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her." And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a big feast. And now it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to Jacob. And he went into her, and Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a maid. And so it came to pass in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you've done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me?" Give me your attention. Here's what happens. Back in those days, weddings would last a long time. The time of engagement was a long time, months. And the week of the wedding, there would be an event pretty much every day during that week up until the day of the wedding. And what they would do is they would then have all this celebration, and then at night they'd bring the woman who's to be married to the man into his tent, and then they would sleep together. And what happened is they didn't have all the lights that we have today, but there'd be candles. So, Laban brings his daughter. Jacob thinks it's Rachel. Maybe he can't see well. I don't know. Maybe he keeps his eyes closed the whole time. Whatever. In the morning he wakes up. What is this? Ugly's in the room. No. He wakes up and he sees Leah. Wow. What? And he runs out and, "Hey, Laban, this is not right. This is wrong. I served you 7 years for Leah, and you gave for Rachel, and you gave me Leah. This is not right. You deceived me." But like one of the guys right here said, makes sense. Jacob, he's a deceiver. His name means heel catcher. He's a deceiver. And Jacob doesn't get what he wants, but he gets what? What he deserves. And how long later is this? This is 7 years later. It didn't just happen overnight, but it was 7 years later. Look on the screen with me. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. You've heard it before. Galatians 6, verse 7. On the screen. Anytime, please. In the back. Here we go. Here it comes. There you go. "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. None of you would expect to take an apple seed, plant it into the ground, water it, and then the next morning, bang, there's an orange tree. No. First of all, apple seeds don't grow orange trees. Second of all, it doesn't happen overnight. Listen, y'all, this is really important that you pay attention here. This verse is a spiritual law. Everybody knows the law of gravity, right? Later on this afternoon, pick up your baby brother or sister, hold them up, and let them go. No, don't do that. Take a ball, let it go. Law of gravity, it drops, right? This is a spiritual law. Whatever a man or woman sows, so he shall reap. It doesn't happen overnight. Reaping doesn't happen overnight. You start to sow some seeds as a teenager. You start to do some things that, well, everybody else is doing it, and I didn't get caught last week doing it. I went to Target and put a few things in my pocket. I didn't get caught. Listen. You start making those wrong choices now, and later in life, it's going to come back to bother you, to bug you, to harm you, to hurt you. Because look on the screen, the choices we make today will help us or hurt us later in life. Can I tell you a true story about a 19-year-old girl who a long time ago, she was 19 years old, she just started college, and she met this guy whom she really liked, and she brought him home for dinner to meet her parents. Well, she brought him home for dinner. Her parents did not approve of the young man, and they pretty much told the girl, the 19-year-old girl, you're not allowed to date him. Take him back to the school and don't ever bring him back. You're just not allowed to date him. That young girl was so upset that she went out that night and made several bad choices. The first bad choice is she decided to get back at her parents by going out and getting drunk. Now, you got to understand, she grew up in church. She knew all the Bible verses. God was in her life, but she wasn't with God. She wasn't on the right path. And so she got drunk, and the guy that she got drunk with was also a known drug dealer. And that night, she slept with him and got pregnant. She found out not too long later that she's pregnant, and she didn't know what to do. So she turned to her best friend and said, I'm pregnant, I'm 19, I don't know what to do. Her friend said, I have the solution. Let's go to the abortion clinic. They drove to the abortion clinic. They got there. The best friend got out of the car, came around, and the woman, who was 19 and a half now, she couldn't make that decision. I just can't. I just can't do this. I can't kill this life inside of me. I can't do this. So what did she do? She chose to make another bad decision. She chose to go to the guy who she brought home, that her parents said, you're not allowed to date him, and she said to him, you got me pregnant. Well, he didn't get her pregnant, but she said, hey, you got me pregnant. He decided to do another thing that I wouldn't recommend. He married her. Just because they got pregnant doesn't mean that she should get married. Neither one of them prayed about it. Neither one of them was in the right frame of mind. Neither one of them was making right choices, but they got married on a whim. And she never told her husband, the guy that, that she said got pregnant, she never told him the truth. And she went from 19 years old to 55 years old, living a lie. Never once told her husband, never once told the baby boy who grew up to be a man that this is not your dad. Told all the friends and family, hey, this is my husband, this is our child, our firstborn, and it really wasn't. And when she was 55 years old, she went to a church service. And the pastor stood up there at the pulpit and said something like this. You've got some secret sin in your life. You've got something that you've been hiding since you were a kid. You were a teenager and you made some bad choices, and God's really convicting you that you need to deal with that. And she was so convicted that afternoon, as soon as she split church, she came to my house and she said, Owen, I have some news to tell you. Your father's not your father. You see, Owen, and that story is about my mom, and that baby boy is me. What my mother didn't realize when she was 19 years old, that the poor choices that she was making when she was a teenager would affect not only her, not only me, not only the guy that she, married, but all her kids, all her grandkids, and even friends and family. She never, because this thing was hidden for so long. Now let me pause the story for a second, and let me tell you something. You sang a song, I think most of you sang a song, the last song, Holy Spirit, you're welcome here. Let us be more aware of your presence. Remember, you sang that? Let us be more aware of your presence. I said to you earlier that Jacob didn't realize that God was in this place. Jacob didn't realize that God was there in the desert with him. And when he woke up, he said, I didn't know, God's here. Had he been a little bit more perceptive, had he been maybe doing the right things, maybe had somebody told him to be a little bit more aware that things don't just happen for no reason. There's a purpose and a plan in everyone's life. Guys, I don't want to lose you. Follow me. When I was 35, I'm 44 now, so when I was 35, 9 years ago, my mother told me that story that I was, I don't know who my real father is. I know where he's from. I know what he did. I have his name. But but I've never met him. I want you to think about it for a second. When I was at Dunkin' Donuts 3 weeks ago, and that guy sat down next to me, I wasn't really in the right frame of mind. I was a little perturbed by the fact that this old man told me I had to move out of my seat. And I was already upset, with something else that was going on that day. And so I wasn't really thinking. But as this guy started to tell me where he was from, and we started to talk about, my grandfather, my family, it never dawned on me, because I wasn't being aware of this experience, of this time that was going on. It never dawned on me, he might know my real father. It didn't happen until later that night when I was home and I was telling my wife the story about what happened that day. She said, well, do you think he knows who your real father is? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts tomorrow morning, and I'm going to try to find that guy, and maybe he knows who my real father is. I went there the next morning, and he wasn't there. I missed an opportunity. I don't know. Like I said, things don't happen for no reason. But what I want to drill home, the point I want to make here, is that your choices today, they're probably not going to affect you tomorrow. Unless, you go home today and do something wrong and you get punished tonight or tomorrow. But the choices that you make today, and you keep on making bad choices, they're going to affect down the road. You're 13, 14 right now, 12, 13, 14. You don't think you're going to make it to be 23, 24, 25. Most of you are going to make it to be 23, 24, and 25. You don't want to have the horror story like that in your life. And I want you to think for a second, when I share with you that story is my story, all of a sudden I saw a bunch of you, huh? And it hit you. Imagine what it did to me, how it hit me. I don't want you ever to feel that pain and that hurt. That's why I'm involved in youth ministry. That's why I'm involved in ministry, because I don't want to see young people. That's why all these great leaders here with the orange shirts on, they're here, because they don't want you to make the same mistakes that they made. They want to help you make proper choices and right choices. So look at verse 26, back in chapter 29 as we come to a close. Laban said, it must not be done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we'll give you this one also for the service which you will serve me still another 7 years. Then Jacob did so and fulfilled her week. So he gave him his daughter Rachel as wife also. And Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a maid. And Jacob also went into Rachel, and he also loved Rachel more than Leah. He served Laban still another 7 years. So what happens is he stays married to Leah, the older one, but he also gets to marry Rachel. So now he's got 2 wives, double the trouble. Each of those wives has a maid, so now it's quadruple the trouble because he's got to provide for all of them. And if you want to, for homework, and I would strongly suggest it, you read chapter 30. It's nothing but Rachel and Leah fighting with how many kids, how many boys they can have, and fighting for the attention of their husband, Jacob. And so Jacob gets what he deserves. He got deceived because he deceived. He got hoodwinked because he hoodwinked somebody else. Listen. Later on, you're going to learn in a study here. I'm not sure which of the pastors will do it with you, but they're going to share with you how Jacob went back to his hometown. Back. His mother passed away. He makes friends again with his brother Esau. Everything's forgiven. And as Jacob gets on the right path and starts to walk with God and do the right things and follow God, you know what happens? God then grants him all the things he had ever hoped to have. And you see, God wanted to give to him those things way back in the beginning. But for 21 years he was away. And he went through much pain and suffering and agony. He wasn't around his friends and his family. He was in a new area and a new land. He had now 4 women that he had to take care of, and 2 of them were his wives, and they were constantly fighting with one another. It was a literal hell on earth for him because of the poor choices that he made. Because all he thought about was himself and getting what he wants. And now let me make this kind of like a little bit, practical for you maybe here today. Your parents say, hey, don't do this. You're allowed to be on the PlayStation an hour, or you're allowed to be on the phone for a half an hour. And you, listen, you sneak an extra 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You sneak out in the middle of the night and you start playing on that game, calling your friends, texting, whatever, and they catch you. You've set yourself up for now punishment. You're getting what you deserve. But listen, if they don't catch you and you think you got away with it, that idea, that mindset, well, I got away with it, it's wrong. And there's a little bit of, I don't know if I should be doing this because I don't want to get caught. But you don't get caught. So next time you try it a little bit more and you go a little bit farther, and now you're on the phone all night, or now you're playing games all night, or now you're playing games you shouldn't play, and now you're talking to people you shouldn't play. Next thing you know, you're getting videos and messages from people you shouldn't be, and next thing you know what? You're so down the path, you've sowed a lot of bad seeds that you make a really poor choice that's going to affect the rest of your life. I want to close in prayer with you this morning, and I want you to consider with me where you are at. Now, I know you're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at Calvary Chapel. I don't mean that. I mean where you're at spiritually. Which path are you on? Do you know about God and the things of God, but you're not really with God? Or are you with God and walking on the right path, but you're struggling, just like I do, just like Pastor Bob does, just like any other person who loves God does? They struggle in life. But at least you're on the path, and you've got the promises of Jesus that says what? I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. I'll stick closer than a brother to you. I'll be with you through every season of your life. I'll help you through the teenage years to make the right choices so you don't have a horrendous, horrible story like Pastor Owen does. Or if you choose to not do that, and you choose to stay on the path that you're on, I'll pray for you. Let's pray. Thank you, Jesus, for this morning, for this opportunity to look at Jacob's life, to learn lessons from his life. And I pray that we would stop, think, and wait. That we would stop and think about the things that we're doing. And if it's right or if it's wrong, we'd make the right choice. If we're not sure, that we would just wait upon you. Lord, I pray for these young people. There's a lot of difficult things that they've got a lot of difficult choices they have to make at 12, 13, and 14. It's not easy being that young. The temptations are great for them. So please help them today, even this moment right now, to choose to be on the right path. And so with every head bowed and every eye closed, I just want you to think, which path are you on? Are you on the right path? Are you on the path that God wants you on? Or are you on the path that, the path that you've been on for so long? And I want you to say to the Lord, in the quietness of your heart, I want you to say something like this: Lord, help me to get on the right path. Help me to make wise choices. Please forgive me for the things that I've been doing. Please help me to choose what's right and what's good and what's holy, what would honor you. In Jesus' name. Amen? All right, before you go, wait. Sit down. Thank you, okay. Before you leave, I want you to look around the room. If you have an orange shirt and you're one of the leaders, would you please stand up? Just stand up wherever you are, okay? Look around and see these orange-shirted leaders. They care greatly about you. They want the best for you. They don't want you to make the same poor choices that I made as a kid, and maybe even and probably even like they made. They probably didn't make as many bad choices as I did, but they don't want you to make those choices. And they're here for you. They're here for you. They don't get paid to be here. They're here for you. So if you need somebody to talk to, if you need some help, girls, in some of the decisions that you are thinking about making, talk with them. Guys, if you're just struggling through some things, talk with them. Talk with one of the pastors, Sean, Dennis, Sean, whoever is here. Talk with them, okay? Are we done in the back there? Are they out? Okay, you are dismissed. God bless you guys.